Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on March the 30th in the Overlord 2026, 3/30/26. Okay, I've got a lot of great information for you tonight, so let's go ahead and click Murtech on Rumble. Come over here to my Rumble channel. This is the live stream we're talking about tonight, episode 1872. All right, let's jump into this. Close out the live chat, slide down here and click the Show More button to expand out the description box. We have information from Dan Bongino, ACLJ Sekulow, American Center for Law and Justice, Doug in Exile, and Wendy Bell Radio. But before we get into that, I have some shout-outs to give for Abinda007, just started following my channel. Rob at Southern Fried. Rob at Southern Fried just started following my channel. Gaza Sit 99 just started following my channel. DSMA8896 just started following my channel. My Yunt 58 just started following my channel. So thank you very much, folks, for following my channel. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you're tuned in and I hope you enjoy the content. All right, Debbie BS reposted my episode 1871. Debbie BS and Cottonball 31 commented on my episode 1871. Debbie BS commented on my extra 654A and also commented on my extra 654B. Debbie BS and DMH Deplorable commented on my extra 654C. So thank you very much, folks, for reposting my video and commenting on my videos. I definitely appreciate that, and I enjoy reading your feedback. So let me give this a thumbs up. All right, let's jump up here and see what Dan Bongino has to say about Follow the Money, episode 2483. Let's check it out.
History there. That's what lean was created to do as well. Replicate the benefit body burn from
Let me get it past this. Here we go.
Hit the bell. Very nice. Sorry, guys. I told you it was a job interview. Like everything. This show.
I want to move this up a little bit more.
I don't know. Like there. The reason the left wing is fallen apart and Donald Trump has basically crushed them over the last few years. They could have a good midterm. Who knows? But he has crushed them and basically destroyed them. And they've tried to eliminate him and it hasn't worked. Is because the entire Democrat Party has been hijacked by a moneyed portion of activists wanting you to believe that the abnormal is normal. They can't relate to that guy. I have no idea who the guy is, but I assure you a guy like that is probably not some guy lobbying for men's penises in the women's room or to defund the police. I don't know him. I'm just taking a chance, but I can guarantee you he may be a Democrat. I don't know, but he's not that kind of Democrat. So whenever you see these bullshit organized movements with Soviet flags out there, free Palestine. Where's Palestine? I don't know. I heard about it in Wikipedia. I just want you to know, smile. Regular, normal people trying to drop a few LBs, running to work, jogging for the first time, trying to change their life around and putting into work. Don't give a shit about any of that stuff. Folks, frankly, they probably don't know half of the people in, what do they call it? Podcastistan. They don't know any of that. All they know is work and providing for their families. So when you talk about the country again, talk about it with a smile. As they told Walter Williams one time. You talk about liberty, talk about it with a smile. When you talk about the country, talk about it with a smile. It's a great place. Guy was struggling, but whoever that was this morning, good for you, brother. You stick to it. So today's show, Follow the Money. And I say follow the money, not just because I wrote a book about following the money. That's a different topic altogether. I called it Follow the Money today because I want to cover two separate angles of this. First, I want to cover this massive revelation by a reporter doing some work. It was covered on Fox News, Astra Nomani. You may have heard of her, seen her, where she uncovered this huge network of potentially $1 billion of NGOs and political influence money flowing into this anti-communist movement in the United States. I want to get to that. And I'll explain what that is in a minute for those of you who don't know, because it's really important in this segment, because Trump gets the anti-communist theory too, okay? And I'll show you in a second what I mean. I also want to cover the follow the money thing from Trump's Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, and Steve Miller, who basically now are saying exactly what I told you last week. The Nick Shirley moment where he caught all that fraud in Minnesota on camera, I'm telling you folks, changes the game forever. We're going to get to all of that. First, I want to get to this. Does Donald Trump have a time machine? This guy freaking like have the DeLorean, the stainless steel DeLorean?
Okay, now if you followed me and listened to Wendy Bell, when I share Wendy Bell, she talks about Donald Trump being a time traveler. Isn't this amazing? Dan Bongino and Wendy Bell thinking Donald Trump is a time traveler? Who knows? Maybe he is.
I'm not kidding. There are a group of people out there, again, trying to secrete themselves in the tent and elsewhere, who want you to believe that Donald Trump has changed. He's being dog walked around by foreign countries, the Israelis and others. A bunch of donors and everything else are paying him. Donald Trump. I call it the Donald Trump has no agency theory. Well, if Donald Trump has no agency and can't think for himself and is constantly being dog walked around by everyone, why has Donald Trump been saying the same thing since the 1980s? Here is a video from the 1980s. Donald Trump, Barbara Walters, Donald Trump in the beginning giving his speech, saying the exact same thing about Iran. It's not my fault. You guys don't know about this stuff and want to, propel forward these bullshit theories about Donald Trump being hijacked by some like enemy foreign state. Check this out.
I'm here because I'm personally tired of seeing this great country of ours being ripped off.
But as far as Trump is concerned, our allies are only part of the problem. The real culprit is Iran.
Why couldn't we go in and take over some of their oil, which is along the sea?
How would you do that? Would you send in the Marines? Would you take a chance in a war?
Let them have Iran. You take their oil. That's what
How?
How?
I mean, do we want a war? What do you mean we
in,
take their oil?
You go in. You're
how
have
do
a
we
war,
go
Barbara.
in?
You're going to have a war by being weak.
Okay, how do we go in? What do we do?
Excuse me.
Yeah?
You're going to have a war. And it's going to start in the Middle East.
What if the Soviet Union said, you do this to Iran, we're going to come in?
I don't believe they'd do it. The next time Iran attacks this country, go in and grab one of their big oil installations. And I mean grab it and keep it and get back your losses, because this country has lost plenty because of Iran.
Folks, he's been saying the same thing since the 80s. Just listen to him. You don't have to listen to me. I could just repeat what he just said and say he said it, but he can say it himself. You just heard him say it himself. He's been saying the same thing over and over and over again. Listen, can we chat for a second? Of course, that's my show. I guess we have to chat. Guys, ladies, let me just preface this by saying this in the most certain, bolded exclamation point terms possible. I respect, and I mean this, completely, totally, 100%, full stop, respect your ability as a pundit, a talking head, and a commentariat class. I'm one of them too. I respect the fact that you have an opinion and vocalize it and put yourself out there on social media. I do. I'm not suggesting it's in any way heroic. I'm just saying, you put any opinion out on social media, you're going to get maybe 60% of people agree, 40% disagree, and you spend all day fighting. I understand that. However, what I'm growing a little bit exhausted about is just because you can say something on an issue doesn't mean you should, correct? I'm not attacking your right to say it. I just said I respect your ability to speak out and some people's, vocal but consistent opinions on this stuff. But Trump's been in Iran. We're 4 weeks in. We've had overwhelming successes. There have been some setbacks, no question. War is never easy or glamorous. There are hard men who have to go do this on our behalf. There is no doubt. But shit, man, we're a month in. I don't understand. Like, there is this crowd of people, and they're out there. They just want us to lose. They say they don't, but every single thing they say is some kind of demoralization post where it's like they over-exaggerate our enemies' mild, if you even want to call them successes, and completely ignore the overwhelming power of the U.S. military to basically decapitate the entire Iranian regime, their ballistic missile program, and elsewhere. My gosh, man, just give the dude a chance. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I'm not telling you don't have an opinion. I'm not saying that at all. But there's zero question about it that your Donald Trump was dog walked into war theory is total bullshit. That's him in 1987. 1987. I wasn't even old enough to drink yet. Trump's instincts on this stuff, by the way, are unusually good. They are good. Trump's instincts on these foreign interventions, whether it was, and when I say interventions, I don't necessarily mean war. I mean diplomacy too. Remember they told him on the Abraham Accords, and I'll make it even easier for you. Do you remember after they killed Soleimani, there were threats, there's going to be World War III. Donald Trump understood, just like he did in that 1987 clip. If you rewind and listen again, if you're watching on demand, what does he keep mentioning? You cannot be weak. You cannot be weak. He understands that the projection of power matters to mitigate the potential for attacks on your front. It's the Brock Lesnar theory, I call it, of bar fights. How come Brock Lesnar probably doesn't get into a lot of bar fights? Because the truth is 99% of the same people are not going to try to fight Brock Lesnar. He'll kick the shit out of you. He doesn't have to fight. The look of Brock Lesnar is enough to keep a lot of people away. There's always that one lunatic who wants to test you out, however. That's how Donald Trump operates. If you operate from a position of strength and you understand who the enemy is, you hopefully will mitigate in advance any attacks that would have happened because they sense weakness. It's that whenever you talk to criminals who attack police officers or get into AOPs, like assault on police officers, or AFOs, what we call them in the FBI, assaults on federal officers. You always ask them later on, if you do a study, hey, why did you attack that guy? Because I thought I could take him. Trump understands that. He's got like a gut instinct for this. After they moved the embassy to Jerusalem, the U.S. embassy, there was all this talk. Donald Trump is so stupid. I can't believe it. There's going to be World War III if this happens. And what happened? Squat. Jack shit happened. The Abraham Accords that we signed between Israel and multiple countries in the Middle East. World War III is going to happen. That didn't happen either. So can you just acknowledge that his instincts on this? Is it luck? I don't know. I'll be honest with you, man. Do you really care? If the end result is it worked, why do you even care? Speculating endlessly, well, it was luck or it was this or it was that. We're there. I mean, here's what I mean about how this guy he's got this, he understands the political winds, lick the finger, see where the winds are going. He understands the political winds better than anyone, and he gets who the enemy is. He understands that the left will align with anyone in order to destroy us as we take on the enemies of freedom and liberty. Remember the David Horowitz theory. I can't say this enough because once you see it, folks, you'll never unsee it. Stop thinking of politics in terms of binaries on issues. Second Amendment rights versus the gun grabbers. Gay rights versus the conservatives want everybody treated equally. Stop thinking of issues and politics in terms of that. That's us. We care about issues. The left does not care about issues. The left cares about destroying anyone who gets in the way of their pursuit of absolute power. It's the David Horowitz anti-communist theory. We are the anti-communists fighting the communists. They are anti-communists. They're just against people who get in their way. Trump gets this, and you're going to see this. He does have a phone interview on the 5, on Fox, of course, which, by the way, was probably the greatest hour of TV I've seen in a long time. If you missed it, I encourage you to listen to the whole thing. It is spectacular. It goes in like 1,000 different directions. But here he is. Folks, he gets this. I want you to I'll tell you what. I'm just going to play the clip. It's about the Ayatollah number 7, who no one's seen yet, who's supposedly in charge of Iran. It's about him potentially being gay. I want you to put the 2 and 2 together. What I just said about anti-communists and this clip and how Trump can say this and no one else can. And he knows exactly what he's doing. Check this out.
Have we? And did the CIA tell you that Ayatollah Jr.'s gay?
Well, they did say that, but I don't know if it was only them. I think a lot of people are saying that, which puts them off to a bad start in that particular country. You know, I sort of have to smile to myself when I say I see people trying to defend the Palestinian regime for women for Palestine, but they kill women if you don't wear a certain group of, if you don't wear certain cloth all over your face, you have no chance of living. And, you know, when I look at gays for Palestine, but they kill gays. They kill them instantly. They throw them off buildings. And I'm saying, who are the gays for Palestine? And they have a significant amount of gays for Palestine. Now, I think when, you know, I did very well with the gay vote. Okay. I even played the gay national anthem as my walk-off. Okay. For my campaign.
You see what he's doing there? This guy understands weaponized partition politics that's not about issues. How there's a group of lunatic collectivist freaking Soviets on the left looking to destroy this country and anyone who gets in their way. They don't care about the issue. They care about getting rid of you, period. I.e., Donald Trump understands leftist goons do not give a shit about gay rights. If you cared about gay rights, you would be protesting a variety of countries in the Middle East who throw gays off buildings. But you're not protesting that. Matter of fact, you're trying to protect them. Why? Because Trump gets what other politicians just don't. This is not, listen to me. This is not about gay rights. The left doesn't give a shit about gay rights. They care about getting rid of you. They will throw gays overboard in a heartbeat to get power, achieve power, weaponize power. And if they got to throw gay people in jail too, they'll do it in a heartbeat. They won't even think twice about it. They will never look back. Their sole purpose is power. He gets this. This is why his message resonates. Folks, I understand. This show is for people who are kind of like ankle or knee deep in politics. It's not like neck deep. We try to bring some entertainment stuff in it, but make no mistake, like you have to be in a graduate program for politics. This isn't for high school kids, like to follow what's going on in this show a lot. That doesn't resonate with every single person. There are people who just, they work for a living. They don't have time for all the bullshit. The way Donald Trump talks, hey man, isn't that weird? Like the son may be gay. Whether the son's gay or not doesn't even matter. It's the fact that he put it out there and seeded it as a vehicle to point out the hypocrisy of the left that doesn't give a shit about gay people at all and only cares about protecting a nuclear country, a soon-to-be nuclear country that screams death to America, that has nuclear material. He's like, you guys don't find that weird? That you've got a group of leftists out there who would rather fight for the death to America, nuclear power, nuclear weapon pursuing Iranians, mullahs? They'd rather defend them than gays? I thought they were the pro-gay rights party.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and pause it there. I will include this in my daily news wrap-up, but this, I mean, it's, what's going on is crazy, absolutely crazy, and Trump is just driving them nuts. Every time he opens his mouth and says something, they just take it to the frickin' extreme. I don't get it. Man, get a freaking life. All right, clicking on the Rumble link, it takes us over here to the Dan Bongino Show video that I just shared with you. I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back here and close out the chat. Hey, Debbie BS is the only one that's chatting with me. Anybody else want to give me a comment or something? All right, American Center for Law and Justice, Sekulow, mainstream media silent as Tulsi opens major election investigation. That sounds interesting. Let's see what they have to say.
A report that come out from our friends at Just the News saying that there was hundreds of millions of dollars of potential fraud going on specifically to bolster the Biden re-election campaign, and it's coming from a foreign source.
That's right. So for those of you that watch this show, this may not sound shocking, but it is shocking to me when you read that there are intercepts that were in the possession of our government. So intelligence agencies got these intercepts that were from Ukrainian government officials, Ukrainian government communications, as far back as 2022. The U.S. government had these that talked about a plot that would redirect USAID money that was earmarked for clean energy projects in Ukraine to be funneled back to the United States and into the coffers of the Democrat National Committee, as well as the Joe Biden reelection campaign. We've been concerned about the Ukrainian issue for as long as Joe Biden was a candidate for public office, as far as the presidency. And this report shows that there's a summary of these raw intercepts that say that the Ukrainian government and unspecified U.S. government personnel through USAID in Kiev reportedly developed a plan that would provide hundreds of millions of U.S. taxpayer dollars to fund an infrastructure project in Ukraine that would actually be used as cover to send approximately 90% of funds allocated to the DNC to fund Joe Biden's reelection campaign. This is shocking. It is newly uncovered. We obviously know that the intelligence agencies that had possession of this were under the Joe Biden administration. So what Tulsi Gabbard is now doing is a massive investigation into this, finding out through records as well as other ways to find out if this was carried out, this plot, and whether a criminal referral should be made to the FBI. This is, we've talked about corruption in Ukraine. We've talked about the election interference from these governments. But right here, you're seeing that even the administration under Joe Biden had receipt of this.
Yeah, I want you to understand, folks, it's not saying now, because I think a lot of people in the podcast world seem to get caught up in this kind of thing, which is now not saying, oh, look at this corruption happening in Ukraine. That must make Russia the good guy. No, what it just shows you is there is corruption happening at all levels of politics, including here in America.
Well, and Rick, when you saw this, I don't want to plagiarize John Brennan, but does it ring true that this could be something that could have happened?
Well, first of all, raise your hand if you're shocked that this didn't leak out during the Biden administration. I mean, every little piece of information is manipulated from the intelligence agency when it is an anti-Republican moment. And yet here we have the raw intelligence showing that the Ukrainians were trying to funnel money, U.S. taxpayer money, back to the Biden campaign in order to help them win. Now, let's unpack this. They wanted Biden to win because they were getting money from Biden for this war between Russia and Ukraine. They didn't want the money to end, so they were willing to sacrifice a couple of $100 million to send it back to the political system in America, even though it started with U.S. taxpayer dollars. It's supposed to go for an energy program. Instead, the allegation is that it went back and helped Biden's campaign.
Yeah,
Go ahead. This is outrageous. This should be in the front page news. We should be investigating this. Thank God that Tulsi is the one that has found this and declassified this. And now they're trying to figure out if any of the money actually went into the campaign.
Rick, this story to me has so many elements to it that should be almost vindicating to people on the right and the conservative media that have been talking and raising questions, genuine questions. Was there corruption between the Bidens and the Ukrainians? Well, that'll get you impeached and kicked off social media if you ask that, and you'll have all the intelligence community writing a very strongly worded letter against you if you were to say that. Once again, people that say, I feel like a lot of this clean energy initiative is kind of a scam. How dare you climate denier that want everyone in the world to lose their cities and have all these things bad happen, apocalyptic happen because you deny climate. But yet in this one story, and it's not like it's some random person, this is intercepts within the government that now the investigation is whether or not people acted on this. But the intercepts clearly showed that there was a plot, whether or not it went forward, that encompassed all the things that if you were a conservative questioning, you were canceled, put in Facebook jail, right here in one story.
A far-fetched idea. I think that's when you read the sort of report. Sure, it's a report. We know our friends at Just the News, they do a great job, so I'm not questioning their report. But when you do read it, you go, well, yeah, as Rick, you stated, it's clear where they were going, why the reasons they were, and you're right. a lot of money was being funneled to them. So, of course, they wanted to keep things going.
You know, one of the cabinet officials in the Biden administration that literally got away without having scrutiny, she escaped public and media scrutiny. And it's really a shame. And now we're finding out that there's a lot here that needs to be investigated. The woman is Avril Haines, who was the DNI during Joe Biden's tenure. She's never answered the question for what was going on with all of the Ukrainian money. Clearly, we now know that there was intelligence sources showing that it was being abused. Why didn't she come forward? Why didn't she say, wait a minute, lawmakers, we should do a little pause here on funding the Ukrainians until we figure out if they're playing political games with this? This would have been something that a real DNI who was interested in transparency would have come forward to say, look, I don't care if this is helping Joe Biden and the Democrats, and I'm a Democrat appointed DNI. It doesn't matter. This is the type of scandal that makes American tax dollars and taxpayers say, I don't think I want to fund more intelligence programs if this is what they're up to.
And once again, if you watch this broadcast, you were told from day one of the Biden administration by Rick Grinnell that someone you should be concerned about in this administration is Avril Haines. You had many times mentioned on this broadcast, so our audience understands exactly what you're talking about. But you also have to take converse here, because I think whenever you look at a story like this, what would be happening if this story were flipped? If it were the Trump administration, not even the president himself, but someone in an agency talked to a foreign government about rerouting money back into the United States to fund the election, it would be everywhere. There would be an impeachment. There would be just mass chaos in our country over this. And honestly, if that was something that was intercepted, there's a lot of problems with that. That's not what happened. They will go this far with saying we have to use things like the Steele dossier to try and get President Trump completely wiped out of public life. But when it comes to something that the intelligence agencies themselves picked up, there are crickets. There is one place you can find this, just the news. Even in conservative spaces, you're not seeing this as much. And maybe people have moved on. Maybe people have lost the appetite or gotten numb to this corruption. But when you're seeing this, I'm thankful that this government is looking into this now.
Look, I actually think that in order to restore faith in the intelligence agencies, to restore faith in the process to fund Ukraine and the war and Congress, that we need to see Avril Haines testify in Congress on this particular issue. What did she know and when did she know it? Why did she cover it up? Did she dismiss this as this isn't accurate, this isn't real news, this is phony? So then tell us, because right now what we see is a total cover up from the Avril Haines intelligence community, where she knew that there was this scheme to take U.S. taxpayer money from Ukrainian funding, pretend like it was going to an energy company, but it really was going to reelect Joe Biden. That's a scandal. The fact that we caught it is fantastic, but why didn't it come out then? And what was done to ensure that the money didn't actually go to that campaign?
And I want to clarify something, Will. Number one, Avril Haines, no relation.
No, spelled differently. The Haines is spelled differently.
Yeah, I just want to make sure people don't think this is some sort of also, plot that we have here.
Right.
So, Rick,
I am the deep state.
Yeah, well, you never know. You never know. You don't know whoever you look at. That's why you got people like Tulsi Gabbard. And look, I think it's why it's important, Rick, also, is you do have someone like Tulsi in this position, and you've had people like you in these kind of positions, people that are not just going to say, well, that's old news, we're not worrying about that anymore. They will deep dive and continue searching for really what's going on. Even if it seems, as Will said, maybe the appetite for the news media may have moved on. That doesn't matter to the people who we put in these positions.
Yeah, look, we got to give credit to Tulsi. She actually declassified this. We could see the whole story. that there wasn't some mystery or some leaks with partial information. She declassified the whole story. Now I think it's up to Congress to take this declassified information and figure out what exactly went wrong. Why didn't we know about it then? What did Avril know, and when did she know it?
Alrighty, great information there. I hope something gets done about that. I really do. All right, clicking on the Rumble link takes us over here to American Center for Law and Justice. This is the video I shared with you. I'm following the channel. I've given them a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here and see what Doug in Exile has to say about J.D. Vance just made his biggest move yet. Okay, let's check it out.
We had some fun yesterday with J.D. Vance talking about aliens, and it kind of distracted me from what I really wanted to show you, which he's on the head of this anti-fraud force. I'll give you the reason why this is super important. It's actually a continuation of Doge. It makes it permanent because Doge must end this summer contractually. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where happy patriots are. Here's Vice President and the next president, J.D. Vance.
What we see is some fraudsters at an industrial scale take advantage of that program to millions and millions of dollars. And there are two separate tragedies there. The first tragedy is that you have people who pay into the federal government, who pay into the IRS, who pay their taxes expecting that those taxes will go to help their fellow citizens. And it's not going there. It's going to help fraudsters. That's tragedy number one. And the more important tragedy is that you have families who need these services who are unable to get them because people are getting rich off of fraud schemes instead of making sure that autistic children and their families get access to these resources. And unfortunately, that story, while it's very concrete and very obvious what we're seeing in Minneapolis, it is replayed again and again and again across many states and across many different programs. It has to stop. The President of the United States has ordered us to stop it, and that's what this task force is going to do.
Okay, so that's the big overview of his task force. They met in the White House yesterday. They had a big press meeting. Nick Shirley was there, Benny Johnson was there, but also on task force were like Scott Bessent, Stephen Mueller. I'll give you the Stephen Mueller clip just because he's always brilliantly brutal. Blunt, I'll say. How's that? Here's Stephen Miller.
I think what's important for Americans to understand about how for a high trust society. I think that most citizens probably assume that there's some verification process that takes place for the receipt of most federal benefits. The reality is that there is not. This is particularly true in blue states, willfully true in blue states, in which all of these programs are operated entirely on the honor system.
I just want to ask my audience right now, this is where you contribute. This is not a one-way show where I just talk to you, but you tell me in the chat below, is it deliberate that in blue states don't have verification systems set the benefits they get? That is, the benefits are given out at a blank check. Is it deliberate so that those benefits go to illegal aliens? That's my question.
No verification takes place before individuals are enrolled in or receive these benefits. So as a simple example, if you're a Somali refugee living in Minnesota, you could lie about how many children you have. You could lie about what your immigration status is. You could lie about your marital status. You could lie about childcare. You could lie about disability. You could lie about all these things and many more. And nobody in the state of Minnesota would validate any of these facts before writing you a check. We at the federal government are simply sent a bill from the state of Minnesota for the cost of providing these services in the aggregate. So to take the food stamp program as an example, and that, of course, is administered by Secretary Rollins, we do not know the names of any SNAP recipient in the state of Minnesota. We just get a blank check. We've asked the state repeatedly and tried to compel the state unsuccessfully to turn over their SNAP enrollment rolls so we could ascertain such basic facts as, are these people even legally eligible to receive these benefits?
It's the same thing with voter verification. We did a piece on this where Harmeet Dillon is simply asking for voter rolls just to verify that these people exist, that they have a social security number, that they're American citizens, and they won't turn over the voter rolls. They won't look in Minnesota. They're asking for who is receiving the SNAP benefits. There isn't a name associated with the money they're given. The only thing that we hear from Minnesota is, here's the bill, pay this in bulk. That's obviously a Democrat form of fraud that is happening over and over again, is hiding the identity of these people so they can get away with every form of fraud there is. It wouldn't surprise me if it was the same thing in California, 100 times worse.
And the state has refused, absolutely categorically refused. In fact, saved millions of dollars in their purpose of trying to prevent the state from ascertaining the identity of a single SNAP recipient in the entire state of Minnesota.
Now, I'm all for welfare, giving people SNAP benefits, helping people eat. I'm not for zero accountability. I would say end it all for everyone until there's accountability. You can't just give away. It's like me putting a $100 bill out on the sidewalk with a little note next to it saying, only if you really need it. And the $100 bill is gone the next day. I don't know who took it. I don't know if they needed it or not. So here's the key to the brilliance of this fraud task force. It really is an actual strategy. The significance of the anti-fraud task force cannot be understated. So this is what is going to be the main thing I believe that J.D. Vance is going to run on in 28. This is going to be his greatest legacy, guys, to end fraud in America. Doge, that was under Elon Musk, was set to expire on July 4th, 2026. That's this July 4th. Elon Musk's Doge ends. Remember, he didn't want to set up a permanent government program. He wanted it to be 2 years. It ends July 4th. But the fraud was too pervasive, the waste was too widespread, and the abuse was too egregious. And one more key thing is Democrats were all entrenched in every part of USAID and all of our government to fight any revelation of material, even though Doge's massive AI robots and brilliant people who just went and looked were able to find it pretty easily. So instead of letting Doge expire, they just now made it semi-permanent with J.D. Vance. It's Doge 2.0 and the Democrats are panicking. That's how you know we're over the target. That's the key to this whole thing. So I'm happy to report on this, guys. This is a huge win. We're going to be busting Democrats like this. Breaking House Ethics Subcommittee has found Democrat Rep. Sheila Phyllis McCormick guilty of 25 ethics charges after she was indicted for stealing millions in FEMA funds to fund her campaign. Democrats took money from people suffering through FEMA, through damage, and then she spent it on her own campaign. This is busted. She's going to jail. Here's Nick Shirley. This is on the Gateway Pundit. Watch. J.D. Vance tells Nick Shirley that prosecutions for fraud schemes are imminent. So he's making a promise, and all the normal naysayers are there going, nothing will ever happen. They don't understand how complicated our justice system is. By the way, guys, almost no one ever gets busted for anything. I broke the speed limit yesterday when I drove. I didn't get busted. The same way I didn't get busted for breaking the speed limit for the last 20 years. In general, you get away with stuff. It is very hard to catch someone and actually indict them. I believe these guys have the paperwork that gives them the best chance. Arrests are imminent after he takes lead in the anti-fraud task force chair. Now, here's the Gateway Pundit's readers. Blah, blah, blah. Only thing imminent. No one will be held responsible. Is it really soon? Don't worry. I have all the files on my desk, says Pam Bondi. Get to work making cases. Will this involve fraud in the defense military contracts? Now they're using this to attack our military. All of these are panicking black pill naysayers. Half of these have 3 people. Not holding my breath now. This is a perfect example. He has a tiny amount of followers. These are like brand new spam accounts, guys. Sure, a guy pretending to look for fraud. That's what this guy says of Nick Shirley and J.D. Vance. They're only pretending to look for fraud. Not one positive comment, by the way, on this article. So Gateway Pundit, your readers are a bunch of conspiracy theorists, and that's too bad. What I do see is this Democrat. Remember, this is one of the guys we're going to bust. AG Keith Ellison. Let Somali fraudsters steal billions. Says he's always worked with the federal officers up until President Trump. Democrats are unserious people. Watch this guy.
Let me tell you, with the AG's office, the Minnesota Attorney General's office, we are proud to work with local FBI, local ATF, local DEA, all kinds of federal agents all the time. We get their joint task forces with police, sheriffs, and federal agents working together for the goal of public safety right up until now. Right up until the right up until this very moment, that we have worked cooperatively and
up until now. Boy, he sure caught his words on that one. We've been working with them, ICE agents, FBI, whatever, up until now, up until Trump. They stopped working with him because they knew they wouldn't get an easy deal like they did under Biden. This guy's going to jail, Ellison. This guy really is a crook, and we've got a lot of paperwork on him. He's number 2 to Tim Walz in Minnesota fraud.
constructively, and right up until Trump.
Right up until Trump. Trump made the difference. Now Democrats go from wanting to look at fraud when they can let all their people off easy. And then under Trump, they lock the doors on them. You can't see anything. J.D. Vance is going to break those doors down. He has said it will lead to indictments. I think this is a totally different thing than what you've seen so far, guys. I will keep reporting on it as they expose fraud, not just in Minnesota, I think especially in California. I think you'll find a ton of it in California, New York, and Chicago. I'm Doug. In.
All right, Doug in Exile. Let me show you this video does come from Doug in Exile, the video I shared with you. I'm subscribed to his channel on YouTube, giving him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Alrighty then, let's jump back here. I was doing a little chatting there. Before we move on, I'd like to share some information from Rumble Wallet before we go on to Wendy Bell.
They can cancel your accounts, freeze your cards, decide what you're allowed to buy, say, or support. Big banks and financial institutions have total control, and they use it. That's why financial independence matters more now than ever.
Introducing Rumble Wallet, a wallet built for real freedom. With Rumble Wallet, you control your money, not a bank, not a government, not a tech company. Designed for patriots who stand tall, this cap captures the enduring spirit of liberty. The Liberty Bell stands proud. This isn't a credit line they can shut off, it's your wallet, permanently. Yours to protect your future.
Yours to protect your family. When the system fails, when institutions turn on their own people, financial sovereignty is the difference between security and vulnerability. Buy digital assets like Tether, Tether Gold, and Bitcoin in one secure place. No permission, no middlemen, no cancel button. And when you want to support the creators you actually believe in, you can use the Rumble Wallet app to directly tip content creators securely, instantly, and without interference.
This isn't a credit line they can shut off. It's your wallet, permanently. Yours to protect your future. Yours to protect your family. When the system fails, when institutions turn on their own people, financial sovereignty is the difference between security and vulnerability. Rumble Wallet isn't about politics. It's about freedom, ownership, and protecting what's yours. So take control today. Download Rumble Wallet now and step away from the big banks for good. True ownership, true protection. So take control today. Financial freedom. Download Rumble.
Alrighty then. Okay, let's jump over here to Wendy Bell Radio. The Senate is shady as hell. I believe that. Let's see what she has to say about that.
You know, Joe and I take this time, we've taken it a couple times now, right around the end of March, beginning of April, to go fishing off of the coast of Hilton Head Island, actually right off the coast of Savannah, Georgia. We go fishing for this wild fish that's one of the most delicious things you'll ever eat in your life. It's called sheep's head. It is ugly as sin. It's a striped fish, black and white. It's got human teeth, literally human teeth. And if you're dumb enough to put your finger anywhere near it, it will chomp the bejeebers out of you. It is the finest eaten fish you'll ever have. And Joe and I share something very special. We just enjoy going out onto the boat with a guy we've been chartering for years, 15 years maybe. We go out, drop anchor in the special spot, and just pick up as many as you can get in the time allotted to go back to the dock, fillet those up, take them up to the guys up on the dock, have them grill them up for us, blacken them, the most delicious, simple thing in the world. Because you know what? When I'm on a boat, I'm not thinking about anything. I'm not thinking about my job. I'm not thinking about my kids. I'm not thinking about my bills. And I'm sure as hell not thinking about politics. And for a day here and there, it's really nice to check out, isn't it? It's always good to come home. And today I was like, oh, snap, I'm against the wall. Got home late last night. Got to do the laundry, make sure everything's tidy, and the house needs groceries. So I'm going to have to do that today. But my number one job today before work was to go out and buy my sister a birthday card. Her birthday is on Friday. You know, this is hard. Right? It's hard. Fishing for me is so easy. Go somewhere, whether you catch anything or not, it's like having a scratch ticket. Take out your quarter, get your ticket, and scratch away, and you never know what you're going to find. It could be $1,000. It could be $1 million. It could be zero. Every single time you do it, it's a new mystery. It's a new challenge. There are new unknowns. Going and buying a card for someone you really want to have an honest conversation with, but you know it's not going to happen, sucks. It just does. So I go to Walgreens, right? Got my card right here. And I don't know what I'm looking for. Because it can't be sappy. It can't be like, you're my best friend ever. We're connected, but we're distant, blah, blah, blah. But you're my favorite person, and we're the best of friends, because we're not. Because we're not. It's not going to be some syrupy, we've been through this and we've been through that. No, I haven't lived anywhere near my sister in, 38 years? Right? Longer than that? What I wanted to say is something very basic. I love you. I will always love you. But sometimes I want to punch you and throw you down the stairs. I mean, is that a good
Happy
card?
birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Cheers, right? And
Love Wendy.
Love Wendy, right? See, and I wouldn't have anybody else sign it. It would just be for me. I wouldn't be like, come on, boys, come to the kitchen. We're all signing a card for your aunt. It would just be like, maybe if you fall down the stairs, you'll get concussed and snap out of this wacky, weird, progressive, off the cliff, leftist mumbo jumbo that you're hook, line, and sinker onto, because I don't know what freaking happened to you. Is there a card that says that? No. And then you don't want to get a card that's overly syrupy because it's disingenuous. I'm going to give you a card to lie. Right? I want you to know that I love you, and I wish things were different. But I'm not so sure they can be. And for that, I feel like a failure. That's what I want my card for her to be. That's not really a great birthday wish, is it? I mean, right? So here's what I settled on for a special sister, right? It's got some butterflies. It's got some gold printing on it. It's pretty. And it opens up and it says, birthdays mean different things at different times in our lives. But having a sister like you has always meant the same thing. Having someone very special to share with and to love. Have a wonderful birthday. I think that's good. But here's the thing. I don't share with her. And so I struggle. Why can't I just sign my name and write, have a wonderful day? I'm not going to send you balloons like last time because I know it pisses you off. And I think it's hilarious when they all show up at your work.
And that's why you do that.
I'm a terrible person. But I sent her a nice package, and I have to obviously, you have to send something heartfelt. You have relationships with people, and they can be with your spouse. It can be with your parents, your children, siblings, what have you. And you wish, right? I wish. But it's just not going to happen that way. And I have to be okay with that. And I have to be okay with really never, ever telling the truth. Because I'm not so sure the truth is requested, nor would it get me anywhere. So I will sign something that says, I love you. I've always loved you. I will always love you. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Is that really what sisters say to each other? You know what I want to say? I want to say, when I'm at my worst, when I feel like there's nowhere to turn, There's only one person I can think of talking to, because that person always makes me feel good, makes it seem better. And that's you. I can't say that because it's not. I'd love to say, I wish I have been more honest over the years and that I didn't shut you out, but I did. And I'm sorry. Love, Wendy. Right? So, this is why I love fishing. There's no ulterior motive. There's no scam, no scheme, no bad side. What's going to happen? You're going to catch fish or you don't. Either way, you're not on the clock. Either way, you're not behind a computer. You're not stuck doing something you don't want to do. You're somewhere peaceful, joyful, mindless. And I'd love to say that to my sister. I wish I had a peaceful, joyful, mindless connection with you, where we didn't have to say stuff. We both just knew. But I can't. How many of you are in a similar situation? How many of you had that exacerbated or highlighted during COVID? And you watched people you love, who you've grown up with, who you've spent years of your life with, who you might even live with, go off the freaking deep end. And you're like, I don't understand what's going on. There are some things that we will never understand. But I will say this, in my shopping for a greeting card, I did want to go over to the encouragement aisle, right? And send one to John Thune. It says, you know what? It's time for you to lead. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we need some honest greeting cards for people. Let's talk about, when we come back, let's talk about what happened while we were off, because it always happens, right? Brock and I take like 24 hours and all of a sudden we're either at war, pulling out of war, things go to hell in a handbasket, or you've got John Thune making some shady deal with Chuck Schumer at 2 a.m. when nobody's paying attention and the deal sucks and the deal does nothing except kick the can down the road and allow the Senate to have a nice 2-week Easter recess. Well, you know what? Dear Senate, comma, you suck. Signed, America. There you go. See, I have a second business right now, making my own line of greeting cards. Let's unpack it all when we come back next on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
All right. Okie dokie. Well, let's get it up here and see what she has to say about that. About the 22-minute mark.
Oh my goodness, I'm having too much fun in the commercial breaks. Welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. Okay, so we've got this thing going on, this ballroom. Remember, we're going to talk about this ballroom because the New York Times blew open a story about the ballroom at the White House that the left was worried about for like a hot second. And apparently there's some military bunker underneath it, this fortress that is impenetrable. It is something that was supposed to be a secret. Good job, New York Times. I want to talk about that in a second, but first, let's talk about this. While we were off on Friday, the Senate agreed to end the shutdown for most of the Department of Homeland Security. It's some deal. This is John Thune. He's not listening to the 84% of Americans. He's not listening to the 95% of the GOP or the 100% of MAGA. He's not paying attention at all to what we are saying. He's like, oh, I really can't get these four Republican senators to sign on to the Save America Act. We don't know what we're, no, see, leadership isn't about unanimity. It's not about consensus. It's about getting people who aren't on board into the consensus column. And John Thune, for whatever reason, is either too weak or too much of an F-rated Liberty score rhino to do one of anything, wanted to be off for a couple weeks for Easter. Well, you know what? All the people in TSA wanted to be funded. Same with the Coast Guard, same with FEMA, right? Same with the Secret Service. How's that working, John? And so now you've got calls for his head. And we're going to talk about that coming up. Let's go into this bunker thing, which I thought was really interesting. President Trump reveals a lawsuit, apparently, has exposed the truth behind his one big, beautiful ballroom that the military has been helping build what's called a PEOC. It's a Presidential Emergency Operations Center. It was secretly being built beneath the ballroom. And the New York Times, of course, somebody blew the whistle. They decided to print an article about it, bitching about the design. And it's like, how about here's my card for the left's media, right? How about you zip it? Thank you, America. That's how I want it to go. This is the president on the bunker. He's on Air Force One. He's holding up a thing. He's like, yeah, it's pretty cool, but too bad the whistle was blown. Here you go.
Now the military is building a big complex under the ballroom, which has come out recently because of a stupid lawsuit that was filed. But the military is building a massive complex under the ballroom, and that's under construction, and we're doing very well. So we're ahead of schedule. That's part of it. The ballroom essentially becomes a shed for what's being built under the military, including from drones and including from any other thing. The glass on the windows, you see the big windows, the glass is extremely thick. It's high-grade bulletproof glass, so all of the windows are bulletproof. I think the Times wrote, gee, some of the windows are fake. We have no fake windows. They said, they talked about a stairway in the South. We don't have a stairway in the South. That was replaced a long time ago.
And so the New York Times puts out this article over the weekend, and this is the title. Trump's ballroom design has barely been scrutinized. Architects say it shows. So Trump is using private money or donated money, not taxpayer dollars. The guy who is a real estate tycoon, who is known for his building and architectural prowess, who understands lines and columns and facades and continuity. The New York Times is sitting back and finger wagging. Well, architects say it's not going to look good. It's just not going to look good. But you guys didn't say anything when Joe Biden opened the border and we had, 15 to 25 million people stream across it for 4 years. This is where you're going to get your unease in a bunch. And then it goes through this bitch fest, every nook and cranny that somebody on the outside is looking in to scrutinize. How dare you? How dare you? You are the same feckless media hacks, New York Times zeros, who didn't cover the open border with any kind of clarity, who refused to, with any kind of objectivity, present to us the facts regarding January 6th, who ran interference for a clearly stolen election and refused to cover the extraordinarily obvious, cognizant, and physical decline of Joe Biden, who we all knew was a puppet dancing on somebody's strings. And you want to sit back as the president is creating a fortress for whomever comes after him. Whomever it is, knowing of credible threats from Iran, knowing that they had long-range missiles that could hit the mainland USA, knowing that they have tried multiple times to assassinate this president, who, in no matter what world of math you live in, was elected 3 times in veritable landslide fashion. And the New York Times wants to sit back and bitch that nobody was allowed to chirp in on the design. I'm going to say the fewer people involved, the better. When has this president been wrong? And in not so cryptic fashion over the weekend, he also noted that it wasn't just twice that his life has been threatened, that there have been multiple assassination attempts that have been kept on the down low that likely originate from Iran. This president knows what's at stake, standing up to the largest state sponsor of terror and all of their proxies and all of their minions who exist here in America, sadly within our Capitol complex. He knows what's going on. And so for the New York Times, here's a little greeting card that we have created for you. Dear New York Times, you suck. Signed, America. When we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program, my friends, from bunkers to America with this front row seat to the uniparty's incompetence. Got to talk about John Thune. Get him out next.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pause this here and move on. This video will be in my daily news wrap-up if you want to watch more of it. Let me click on the Rumble link and take us over here to Wendy Bell Radio. This is the video I shared with you. I'm following her channel. I've given her a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, coming back here, folks, I've just copied the live chat, and I'm going to paste that down here in a comment. There we go. Go ahead and clean this up a little bit. There we are. Okay. Ooh, that's so cool. Okay. These videos that I've shared with you folks are videos that come directly from the producers. I've got the link to the videos here in the description box, as well as the links to the producer's channel if you want to see more information on them. These videos come directly from the producers, as I said, and I share these videos on Mertech.com, where I have over 40 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos. Now, I'd like to share all of them with you, but unfortunately I don't have the time to do so, and that is why I've created my daily news wrap-up. Right here's the Wendy Bell radio program, and right here's the Dan Bongino show. So I've got these in my playlist. I want to share this information from Robert Gouveia first. Normally I just go with Wendy Bell and Dan Bongino and then move on, but Fulton County blasted in ballot evidentiary hearing. I think that's good information. That I haven't watched it. I don't know. It's like 16 minutes, 15 minutes, and 52 seconds. So I want to go ahead and play that before we jump into Wendy Bell and Dan Bongino. Then we got X22 report, Dr. Steve Turley, and you know, On the Fringe, We the People. It says I have 21 videos in here, about 10 or 11 hours worth of information. But go ahead and give me about 15 or 20 minutes to get this set up in Rumble Studio, and take a break, grab a cup of coffee, donut, sandwich, soft drink or beer, or a nice glass of wine and some cheese, and meet me back here in about 15 or 20 minutes and we'll get this going. But in the meantime, I do want to thank you for being here. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless.